Hello, everyone. Hello. Hey,
Hey,
Will.
All right,
Hey,
so
hey, hey,
on the
Reggie. Hey, Sky.
what's
about
going
what?
on, party people? How you doing out
All right, we
here?
are live.
We are live. This is the Poly Pimp podcast
What's
with
happening?
Mitu and Sky Juice in the house. And tonight we have our two friends, Reggie Beloved and Wilt. And we are talking about relationship boundaries. Uh-oh, my
And
phone's
rules.
ringing.
Rules and
Relationship
boundaries
boundaries
in
and
relationships.
rules in monogamous or polyamorous relationships, whichever way you flow,
Non-monogamous, polyamorous,
non-monogamous,
monogamous, all of it.
all
Life
of the above,
cycle, actually.
however you relate.
Yes.
So we got experts here, yes?
Reggie, why you made that face? Do you guys have your refreshments first? Because,
Oh,
we're
yes.
eating a lot. So,
Today I am drinking a lovely, fresh, ice cold black cherry sparkling water. My
nice.
favorite.
Nice.
Yes.
Hey,
So
Spellman. Spellman is like the person here. Thank you for
and I'm
joining us
drinking
tonight.
a baby Fanta,
Oh,
orange in
nice. I
flavor.
love me orange Fanta. Reggie, what you drinking?
Nothing right now. I'm the only one that don't have anything, but it'll be okay.
That mouth is gonna be dry.
what's up with the background, Reggie? You looking all fancy.
It's like
I've messed with StreamYard before. Just kind of saved the background that I had from my last episode. That's all that is. So yeah.
That is so cool. I want to be
you
down
gotta,
like you.
you gotta teach me how to do that. I
For
want
real.
a cool Haitian background.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
No problem.
everybody in the watch zone, we're streaming on Poly Pimps on YouTube, where we're streaming on Facebook, and
Yeah,
we're also streaming on Mitu's YouTube page, so we're kind of spread out a bit.
yeah.
But if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to post a comment. And then also, if you want to jump in the call and either by voice, audio, or come
Video.
on live, then I will post the link right now.
I'm good, Spellman. I'm good. Thank you. All right, so you guys are ready to jump in. It is 9:02. Um, well, I guess maybe we could get a little quick background for the people who don't know us. My name is Me Too Charles, like me and two, the movement, Me Too. I have been polyamorous for about, well, I would say I was born polyamorous, but I've been
Hmm.
practicing polyamory for the last 5 years and I live my life openly. I am an entrepreneur, mother, and beloved by many. So, loved by many. So, I decided to start a podcast on polyamory mainly because there are so many people that have no clue what non-monogamy, specifically polyamory, is. And Sky was gracious enough to be my co-hostess. So, and we tried to do it. We were doing it once a week, and life got in the way because we are busy people. We have a lot of people who want our attention, specifically life in general. But we try to do this once every 2 weeks now, and we talk about questions that people ask us. We have many episodes on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to go back and watch them, we have pretty much polyamory 101 explaining what it is. We try to give a brief description most of the time of what it is for somebody watching for the first time. But if you want more details, the beginning episodes have all the details that you may need.
Pretty much, pretty much. I am Sky Juice, chef extraordinaire. I am a chef by trade. However, I moonlight as a podcaster. And I've been poly, I would say my whole life too. It makes the most sense to me. I just had a conversation with a friend today, and they were saying that you are not poly if you are only dating one person. And I said that is not true. Because if you have nobody, if you're not dating anybody, what are you? Are you monogamous or are you polyamorous?
Right.
And he said, I'm still poly. I said, well, if you're dating one person, you're still poly. If you identify as poly, or if your love style is polyamorous, period. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was just a sidebar conversation. But I've been polyamorous most of my life, actively the last 6 or 7 years. And it hasn't been easy dating and trying to create. I realized the best way to go about this love style is not to have an idea of what you want. Really just live, go with the flow. Whoever you meet and whoever sticks to you and evolves into your life partner, partners, whatever direction it goes in, that's what you got. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
Wilt, tell us about you.
Hey. My name is Wilton.
And how did you get here?
Where? To this site?
Yeah.
Because of you. Because of you. I've not lived the poly life. I found it to be an interesting topic. I just relocated from Texas here. And it was kind of, it's funny how you run across different people as they explain their situation. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Is that a situationship or is it poly? So when I had talked with you, I was like, let me get some more information. So that's what I do. So
that's cool.
I just want to find something out. That's all.
That's cool. There's questions out here that can be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And Reggie, beloved.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I'm Reggie Beloved, as I'm known on Facebook. As far as poly is concerned, I guess I was introduced to polyamory around 2013 or so by somebody from Facebook, but I think that's the natural state of humans. I can go back in my history, but basically right now I'm married, got 3 kids, great situation. But I just think that it's in 2013 I was introduced by someone that's kind of like, I guess, living in a polyamorous lifestyle, and it was a woman, and I just thought that was really interesting because before then it was like there was no word, I wasn't aware of books, I wasn't aware of like not as groups and everything. So it's a whole, like, it's about education. I've been to like meetups and it's just been, like, I take it for granted now, but I know that there's a lot of people that I think it's very different and exotic. So I guess we can get deeper in my history, but that's the gist of the basic, real quick introduction for myself.
That's cool. All right, me too. Hit it.
All right. So this evening we wanted to talk about rules and boundaries. So what are rules? What are boundaries? Before we even get into how we should look at them when it comes to relationship, what are rules and what are boundaries? Without going into like regular definition, but I think we should actually give people regular definitions, right? Rules, I don't want to say I think.
I'm going to say I think.
What?
I want to say I think.
A
rule is a statement used to put on to someone. I'm going to use my own words.
Yes.
Like, for example, you cannot come in my house after midnight.
Right. Rules are for others, basically.
Rules are for others. Boundaries are basically rules that you put on yourself.
Pretty much. And why do we need rules? Why do we need boundaries in our lives and everything? I mean, obviously, we need rules so we can keep everything on track in order and stuff like that. And I think boundaries, you need them for yourself in order for you to stay healthy, to protect yourself. So I guess as we talk a little bit more, we can get into how that rules are different than boundaries. I think a lot of people in their relationships, they have more rules than boundaries. And sometimes I think that could be the fall of a relationship, setting up too many rules and stuff like that. So what do you gentlemen think?
You want to start, Will?
I'll let you go ahead, Reg. Yeah, go ahead.
When I think of rules, I'm more familiar with rules than I am with boundaries. So, rules are just ways to like keep things in order. And when it comes to relationships, I think the first thing is that a lot of times, I would say from my experiences, a lot of it comes from personal experience, our environment, our expectations. It's almost always assumed and rarely verbalized. Like, okay, like Sky Juice said that don't come to my house after midnight. If I didn't know that, I might just pop up after midnight because let's say that's when I get off work. And I would have to be told like, hey, it's preferable not to come to my house after midnight because reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's very rare that people express, especially early on, like what rules and boundaries are for them. I think it takes like an emotionally mature person to kind of like lay that out. And sometimes you gotta be careful because if you laid off too heavy and there's so many rules and restrictions, it might be like a turn off too. So boundaries, I think boundaries are interesting. I again, I guess it would be good to know them if you know what they are for yourself and to share. But everything encompasses communication. Just communicating whatever it is that make you feel comfortable, what you like, what you don't like, and I think everything flows from there. So that's what I would say when it comes to rules and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I would agree.
How do you come behind that? Thanks, Reg.
You trust to come now.
I piggybacking on what he said. No, piggybacking on what Reggie said. I agree. It's just when it comes to rules, it seems like there is a cultural thing regarding rules. It's almost unspoken. Like you may you may go into your refrigerator, but anyone of a certain age or whatever, they know not to go into your refrigerator, just like coming into the house and things of that nature. So I think some rules based on like what Reggie was saying, it's just unspoken. It's just known. And I think that borders respect. So when these rules are not adhered to or violated, then people look at it as a form of disrespect. And I think most of that is more so generational than across the board. Because everyone here, you would know that coming into somebody's house, you don't just go into the refrigerator. You know what I mean? But at the same time, some people may ask, do I need to take my shoes off? So I think it's just a level of respect as it pertains to rules. So rules in relationship, I think it borders the same thing. It's just a matter of respect. I don't really think it's unspoken rules, but I think the subtext is just respect. As far as like boundaries, that's something you set on yourself. That's it. And those are oftentimes predicated on whatever mood you in is what your boundaries are. So.
Okay, so let's get juicy about that. So you're in this long-term marriage for 14 years, whatever, it doesn't matter how long it is. And the unwritten rules of the relationship, let's say it's monogamous, is that we do not have any other sex partners, right? How does one navigate the fact that you are no longer sexually attracted to your partner of 14 years, or they don't get you off? Is there a way to facilitate a conversation without breaking the rules so that the two of you can live happier and more satisfied?
I guess me too.
I'll just put it out there.
Me too will answer that because I already spoke. So.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you for volunteering me, Reggie.
we're going in a circle, as you can tell. Next.
Well, I mean, for something like that, first of all,
That's right. That's right.
First, I feel as an unspoken rule, can you even communicate? Now I'm talking in a monogamous relationship. Can you even communicate that you are no longer, I don't want to say not attracted to the person anymore sexually, but maybe you just at the moment would like to not be sexually intimate with that person without really hurting that person's feelings? Because it's a hard conversation. Now it happens because I know people who are not necessarily sexual with their husband or their wife or their girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It happens, but it is a very hard conversation to have. I would say, first of all, you need definitely to learn, you need to know how to communicate with somebody, like good and clear communication, and also be considerate and mindful on how you're delivering the message. Because a lot of times it's not really the message, it's how you deliver it. And I'm big on that. Because sometimes Reggie can say something to me and then Will say the same thing. I don't do what Reggie says, but I do what Will says, but it's based on how they gave me the message. But they said the exact same thing. I mean, I don't know how the rules or boundaries fall into it, as far as, telling somebody. I feel like in a monogamous relationship, the rule is you must satisfy your partner.
Boom.
What
if it's not working? What if it's not working?
Exactly. So at that point, what is the other one supposed to do? The one who's still unhappy, sexually desiring, that person who still wants sexual I guess activities. How are they supposed to be? And also the person who doesn't want it, is it supposed to be pushed on them even though they don't want it? What are the rules around that? Like I think, again, I'm speaking because of a monogamous situation. And in a polyamorous situation, I think it's pretty easy. Now, I'm not saying it's an easy conversation, but it's easier to navigate that because, if Reggie says, me too, I'm not feeling sexually attracted to you right now. So I definitely would like to take a break from that. I would be like, okay, well, I'm hurt, Reggie, because I'm still attracted to you, because nobody likes rejection, right? We may get used to it, but nobody likes rejection. But I understand because I would the same grace given to me if I were in that position. So, But since I have other partners that I could possibly get sexual with, or even just, casual people that I may have in my life that could satisfy that need, it's not that big of a deal for me because Reggie knows even though he's not giving me that part of himself, I can get that from somebody else and he has no problem with that. Now, if I am monogamous, once Reggie tells me he can no longer sleep with me, what am I supposed to do? Like I
The
am
relationship is probably over in many cases.
pretty much, or I'm gonna end up finding somebody on the side behind Reggie's back because I'm a human. I'm not attracted to you in that sense. And also I still want sexual I still have sexual desires that I want fulfilled. So in that case, it's either I'm going to end up cheating on you at that point or we're going to have to break up because Reggie's not going to accept the fact that I'm not, I'm gonna have somebody else sexually. So I think what I was trying to say is basically in a monogamous relationship, there's rules that you cannot sleep with anybody else. That's it. If you cannot satisfy your partner sexually, it's either you giving them green card to go ahead and be with somebody else, or you giving them green card to break up the relationship. A boundary that you can establish around you is, well, I don't know. Actually, I can't even speak on the boundary. Oh, I can't even speak on the boundary on that one because I don't even think it makes sense, in that context. So I don't know,
Reggie.
Now that I spoke,
I think that's a very very difficult thing as far as that specific reason, that specific issue. Um, so for most people, it's a really, 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 really difficult thing for obvious reasons. But I think the solution lies in whether or not the people are able to communicate when they're having issues overall. Like, hey, am I able to tell Me Too that I don't know, I feel insecure about whatever, or and if I don't feel like I can speak to my partner, then obviously it's just going to be just a lot of issues. And like Me Too said, then you're going to end up either having somebody else or you're just going to be frustrated. And that's usually what happens. People just kind of get frustrated. They probably will not talk about it. They try to kind of reason why, but it's usually just a bad situation. While you guys were talking, it reminded me of, I remember when I was in Sunday school and how they would tell, especially the females, what to expect in a marriage. I just thought that it was very, very bad. But the context, the culture back then and still now is to stick together and overcome adversity, right? So they really believe that you should overcome adversity together no matter what. And later on you're going to look back and say, man, I remember when Sky was not giving me the pum pum, man, that sucked. But because I prayed to Jesus, now we're here and we can look back and we've overcome that challenge. So that's the way it was looked at. But for me, I just thought that was a really bad situation, because I would think about, like, what if I know that Sky is being physically abused? You have to leave. This is not just an inconvenience. Your life could literally be in danger. But no, They were telling these people you have to stick in the marriage no matter what. So that was the situation I thought that was unbearable. But to be told that you're not wanted is very difficult. To not want the other person is very difficult. And I don't think it matters whether this is a polyamory or monogamous situation, because people want to be wanted. People don't like to be rejected. And now it's just a matter of if you deliver the message. What if you're the subject? Well, how you take the message? You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when it comes to polyamory, the obvious advantage is that you will have other options. Hopefully, your being authentic or being real about it, and hopefully safe about it too. Don't be out there putting yourself in danger and putting other people in danger.
Mhm.
That's a good point.
So yeah, so that's the thing. You could be like, you could get your satisfaction as far as that from other places, and this goes for all kinds of things. Like, to me, you know polyamory and just relationship is overall is about sharing something, hopefully it's very special about yourself with somebody else. So it could
Mhm.
be interest, it could be intercourse, it could be time, you know, and so that's all generally very important. So whatever that may be, hopefully you have the um, ability to communicate and also can receive some very tough, but realistic and honest um, messages from your partner, and then react in a mature way. But of course, that doesn't happen with everybody. So that's just the reality of the situation.
Mhm.
I like how you answered that.
Yeah. We're waiting for you. Will, for some reason dropped out. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe he has bad connection. So your turn, Sky. Let's see what you have to say.
Um,
Hey, Earl.
I think that when I think about rules and boundaries, I would have to say that um, I don't live with too many rules, so I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, if anyone were to ever give me some sort of rule that I have to apply and live, I mean, it's already like I have to stop at the red light kind of laws of the land that I have to abide by. But if anyone I was in a relationship had to give me a rule, I most likely wouldn't be interested in the relationship, to be honest, because I just feel like we are adults and we can create our own boundaries about what we want to do, how we want to carry it, etc. So I'm not really big on rules life. You know what I'm saying? So um I can't even imagine an example, to be honest, but if someone has to say anything like, well, you will not be XYZ, or you cannot do this, or I don't know. It will rub me the wrong way, and I'd probably be turning around and flying the other direction. So I'm not I don't respond to rules. I already respond to rules at work and laws of the land, but in a intimate relationship, I'm not a rules person, you know. And I do feel that communication, I'm really a communicative person. And I feel like if someone has a concern about something, then
Right.
that's a conversation. And we can talk about it till the end of time until we come to some sort of an agreement. I can do an agreement, but not a rule. That's
And
kind of
that's why
hmm?
that's why I was saying, it's it can be the downfall of most relationships because we try to place rules on other people. Um, and like you say, most adults don't respond to rules very well, right?
Mm,
Okay, so I have an example. I had a partner and he couldn't tell me necessarily, oh, I don't want you to sleep with somebody when you know you're going to be with me within a certain amount of time, right? What he did for himself was, I will not be sleeping with you if I know, like, I need you to
put it
let
on self.
basically, I need you to let me know if you were sexually intimate with somebody within a certain amount of time. That way I can choose not to engage with you in that way because I don't want that. So that's his boundary around sleeping together, having sex or whatever. But he's not telling me, oh, you cannot have sex. Now, some people may see it as, well, technically he's telling you cannot have sex. It's my choice. He still gave me a choice. So if I know I'm going to engage with him in a certain amount of time, I can say, you know what, I'm going to wait till that certain amount of time before I engage with such and such. So I get to choose what I do, how I do it, rather than this person imposing a certain rule on me. Does that make sense?
Yep. Hey, Wilt,
Hey,
you're back.
sorry. Yeah, that great
Yeah.
All
answer.
right.
So,
I didn't even have to hear Reggie's answer, and I could just say, "Great answer, Reggie. I know whatever it was great. You held it down. I appreciate it."
you already a Reggie fan, huh?
You already. Look, I ain't got to say much. I'm gonna call when I hang with Reggie. I'm gonna say, just call me Say Less, because he got it. So I'm good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I mean, boundaries are basically to help you manage your behavior better, you know, um, rather than saying, "Oh, Reggie, I don't want you to do this. I don't want," you know, it's we have too many rules. Basically, as adults, we're not gonna respond very well to rules, and eventually somebody's gonna get fed up because you always telling me what to do. Why you always telling me what to do? I don't want you telling me what to do. I'm a grown person. I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want whenever I want. That's typically the response you're gonna get. You're gonna get pushback when you're trying to put rules on people. Rather, you can tell the person, well, it's okay, you can do whatever you want, but if you choose to do this, this is what I'm going to do for myself. This is what I'm going to do because it helps me stay in line, it helps protect me, it helps me stay sane, stay safe. Like, I've had people unfollow me on social media, right? Because they cannot, they don't like what they see about me on social media. So they set a boundary to themselves. Basically, I'm going to set a boundary for myself to protect myself because I don't like my feelings around when I see certain things on social media about this person. So I'm removing myself from this person's social
And
media.
that's fine.
That's a boundary. This
Yeah.
person did not come and tell me, oh, I don't want you to post this. I don't want you to post that. I don't want you to reply to this comment. I don't want this person commenting on your thing, like that kind of stuff. So that's
Exactly.
another example.
So here we have Earl. He popped up. He says, LOL, Sky, I'm with you. Rules, schmools, or smools. Let's invest the time to learn each other and understand preferences and boundaries. I'm with you. He also says, as a consideration, this is Earl, maybe rules can be necessary compromise for new relationships to put in checkpoints. Agreed. So I know I can speak on behalf of more so polyamory love styles. Rules are not looked at favorably. One thing that I do appreciate about being poly, and I got to get something to drink because I feel like I have like a feather in my throat. 1 second. Is especially I guess there are people who do polyamory their way, and that, I mean, it can work however you do it, but I do appreciate folks who study it, and people who study it really study the art of learning how to navigate emotions and communication, like the fact that you have a partner you live with and then you have another partner who you don't live with, and how you balance that life and stuff like that. There's going to be a set of rules that might happen because you know, you might be in a situation where your partner you live with, which could be your husband or wife, could be your nesting partner, whatever terminology you use, and you might even have children, babies. So there are going to be some things that come up that is just going to be part of the relationship that you have in that realm. Whereas you also may have a partner who you might not live with. And these are just scenarios that are actually real for many people. You have a partner who you don't live with, and now there becomes a navigating how you're going to intermix this life with, with all these lives together, and etc. And so boundaries are going to come into play, but rules may come into play as well. Like you might be married to a woman who, I'm thinking of as a guy, married to a woman who she doesn't want your other partner to come and stay in the house. And she creates a rule. Usually that doesn't really go very well. I mean, from what I've seen in the poly world, because it doesn't really make for the other partner to feel special and to feel wanted. They always are going to feel like an outside relationship. So no one wants to feel that way. Who would sign up for that? You know what I mean? So there has to be some sort of amends to the situation in order for folks to feel comfortable. I mean, sometimes people just have to put the other person's shoes on. That's how I look at it.
Yep. Wilt, you never got a chance to talk.
I'm listening. I'm taking it all in, but trying to figure out what Sky just said. He said who would sign up for that, and I guess it's about people individually. If you don't know, and it can be a monogamous relationship, just a relationship, period. If you don't know what that person's agenda is, then that person that you were talking about who would sign up for that, they could very well sign up for because she likes the benefits of being in that particular situation with that guy or whatever. And she may have something else going on to the side. Because it just makes it sound like with poly, and again, I'm just learning this. The way it's presented, it's like poly is the rule, it's the standard, and it's understood. But the same thing with like marriage and monogamy. If you don't really know what that other person's agenda is, you don't know what they got going on the side. So
you're saying it could go either way?
It can go either way. And then that whole, what you think is 3 is 7 because that they with is with somebody else, and it's not disclosed because it's like they like what's going on with your situation. Just say the man and the wife have the other woman. And she's cool with that because you know what? She's trying to figure out what she wants to do, the time that's spent. She values it, but the time that's not spent, she occupies herself with somebody else. So there's that tension. So when you say who would sign up for that, people are different. It's somebody who just out there because you don't know people. You don't know people. I think Reggie said something earlier. You really don't know people until you know people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a growth and development thing. But it makes it sound like when people, oftentimes when I hear people talk about poly, it's probably new people like they have like the baby in Christ, and they're like, oh God. Yeah, you need to do some more research. I think it's more on the lines of I'm gonna do poly because as a new poly guy, I mean I get 2 girls and both of them do what I say. You know what I mean? I think until it's really, really understood.
What?
That's the and you can probably D-Ray, because as soon as D-Ray Davis, the comedian, came out that he was poly and he had these 2 fine women, every dude on the planet was like, I want to be like D-Ray. You know what I mean? But you ain't got D-Ray talent, you ain't got D-Ray money, you ain't got, you know what I'm saying? It just instinctively you think that it's like you borderline, like you're a pimp, like you got 2 women, that's it. No questions asked, and they go along with whatever. I think it's a presentation because it's not that much dialogue about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when we think of D-Ray Davis, his style of poly, from what it looks like from the outside looking in, is more of a one penis policy.
Okay.
Where these women have only him as their partner. Is that what you see when you see that?
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you don't know D-Ray? He's a comedian.
Okay.
But you see that, Wilt, right? It looks
Right.
like they are with him and they have no other outside partners. They all live together or something like that.
Right.
I mean, that's fine for whoever signs up for that. That's more polygamy than polyamory. I mean, it falls under the umbrella of polyamory as well. But when you see situations like that, then, you know, the rest of the poly world, it tends to come off as very sexualized.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's fine. There's nothing negative about it. It's fine. It is what it is. But it definitely, in my book, it doesn't come off as wholesome. It just looks like, you know, every man's dream. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
I have a question. Reggie, you said you're married. I'm assuming monogamously, right? So do you guys have any rules in your relationship? And if you do, what are a few very important rules that cannot be broken, absolutely under no circumstances should not be broken, that would like drive to the end of the marriage?
ooh,
Wow.
it's a good one.
Yeah, there are rules like don't be out there, you know, just your classic marriage rules, you know. When it comes to relationship polyamory, obviously don't have no other partners without her knowledge. You know, we talked about polyamory before. You know, she expressed how she understands that she has a I don't say jealousy, but like a competitiveness about her that brings the thought of it brings um out of her of me having another woman. So she said that she would be like, I don't say violent. I don't know how real she is because I don't want to speak for her, but my understanding is that like she just doesn't like the thought of having somebody else to kind of like compete with. So that's the rule, if that makes sense. So I respect it. What other things? I think another rule would be just to not be like I guess abusive, but more specifically with like just how you communicate with it. Some people like talk down to you. Something that I don't do, but like, you know, just knowing her history, where she comes from, like I wouldn't, not on purpose anyway, just demean her when I'm trying to say the smallest thing, you know. So that's a rule. Just communicate like little stuff like I try to communicate like when I'm at work, like, hey, I'm okay, you know, little stuff like that. But those are the rules that I can think of off the top of my head. Also, like, you know, recently something I've been working on is listening, not hearing. Because
Yes.
yesterday I got in trouble for that, where like she said something and I guess I must have done the and then the question was asked, and then she gave me that look like, didn't I just tell you that? I'm working on that. But those are some of the things I would say that are rules in our relationship. I hope that answered your question accurate, good, well enough.
I mean,
we have a new friend who wants to join the conversation.
Okay.
Pull him up. Got Abdullah in the house.
Oh, hey, Abdullah. Welcome back. I don't know if he's connected. I can see his face.
I can see it. Maybe he's just listening. But Earl is writing all this commentary like he doesn't want to be here. But Earl says that's probably step one in learning each other. What type of poly do they practice? He may want polygyny and she may want polyamory. So then what's the compromise, if any? Sky gives open polyamory and likely gets along best with someone else who is open polyamory. Problems come in if one has one view of poly and the other person has another.
Obviously, I think you have to be on the same page no matter what style what lifestyle, what so a style of relationship that you practice, you definitely have to be on the same page. Because let's say, for example, um, Reggie he doesn't want a girlfriend, but he would like for every once in a while to get a hall pass. And wifey's like, hell to the no. Like, they're not on the same page when it comes to stuff like that, because he doesn't think anything wrong of, hey, every once in a while, I can go have a little fun as long as I come home. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. You're never seeing anybody else like that. Um, with polyamory, I am somebody who is 100% against a closed triad. You will not find me in a closed triad. Now, am I going to tell somebody, or you should not? No, I'm not going to do that.
That would be what D Ray is doing, Wilt, just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Abdullah's muted.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's in the dark. Yeah, so I would never, because we're not in alignment, I'm not gonna even try to connect with somebody that I know only wants his women to be loyal. Like so I always find it ironic that we have polyamorous people. I guess we're gonna call it we have the polygynists, who basically the guys who want their women to be loyal to them only. They cannot date outside of that one guy. And then we have the polyandrous, the women who want her guys, right? That woman who wants her guys only dating her, cannot have any other women but her. And I know, don't get me wrong, I laugh at that kind of want and ideology. I do know people who want that, and I understand that's what you want. We all want something. You want what you want. I can't tell you to not want it, but sometimes I think about it, I'm like, it is just not realistic or even fair. Now, don't get me wrong, you're gonna find people who are just kind of like, I'm just happy being with you, and that's it. I'm not interested in anybody else, and that's fine. But to me, it's when the restriction is actually put on the person. Is There comes the rule again. You cannot date another man outside of me. You cannot date another woman outside of me. So that's when I have a problem. Now, for people who freely choose to engage with only one person, no matter how many other people that person is connected with, they don't care, they don't mind. But it's when they are told they cannot, that's when I have a problem with it. So people like that, I will never try to connect with you, be in a relationship with you, be in any kind of situationship with you, because I am more like of the mind that, you know what, today I may choose to be with you only, but tomorrow I wake up and go outside and see Abdullah, and I'm like, oh, I like Abdullah's way of thinking. I like the way he looks. I just like everything about Abdullah. I want to hang out with Abdullah. I don't want you telling me, no, you cannot, because you said you would only hang out with me. So I cannot deal with people like that. So that's my boundary.
That's your boundary, yes.
I do not engage with anybody who puts restriction on how I move and how I connect with people.
Now, I am not exactly the same monster. My monster is different. Earl was saying, the last comment he said was, monogamous and polyamorous love styles would be a difficult connection. And they can be, but I actually have had these before, because I know that since I've learned myself over the last 15 years or so, I know I've realized that I am a polyamorous. I've been polyamorous my whole life, and this is the way it's going to be. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to be in a polyamorous relationship, because not that I'm still going to be polyamorous, and this is how I navigate it. If in some of the situations I've just only dated one person at a time. and they were monogamous. They thought monogamously. Their mindset was they viewed the world in a monogamous fashion, and I viewed the world in loving in a polyamorous fashion. And the only way that I was able to navigate it is I only was dealing with them because that was my partner at the time. And it worked for as long as it did. And that's because I had nobody else. So, but I still looked at the world in a loving way, as you know, people can date more than one person if they want to or be involved, but I just didn't have the other partners at the time. So
Yeah. Reggie, I saw you raising your eyebrows earlier. You had a comment?
he's getting uncomfortable.
No, I just thought of a curveball to everything we've been talking about. And that's it can be summed up in one word, which is value.
Mm-hmm. How do you define value?
This is what I mean. So Sky used the example of the rule, and I don't know if that's a real rule, but we're going to use the midnight rule. Don't come to my house after midnight. So if I thought that she was so valuable for me to like get to know her, get to be with her, then I would do my best to try to meet that rule, that
respect,
respect or whatever you want to call it. And so I would move earth and mountain to do that, right?
I like that.
It could be super inconvenient for me to do that, but guess what? I'll try. And I think that's how a lot of us are. So what happens is if we perceive that we have value, guess what? Some people will tell you rules for them that might be selfish even, or you might find yourself breaking your own rules and boundaries in order to acquire that person.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just thinking about different people that, I've done or I would do so much for, should, I have the opportunity to be with them. And so sometimes it's just annoying or inconvenient or just maybe crazy, but because you want to please them or acquire them, we do those things, even though it may not be particularly what we like. And so that's a reality that we have to deal with. And so sometimes, we if we value the person, we're gonna listen to those rules. We're gonna put up with it as much as we can, as best as we can. And sometimes if the person know that they're valuable, quote unquote, like you can be replaced, then you have a mistake to make. So that's just the reality of the world.
But don't you think that
how do we join it? Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead. I can wait.
No, I was gonna say, don't you think that you can only overlook how you feel about their rules for so long? Like at some point, aren't you gonna get fed up? It's like, okay, well, I'm always doing this because I like her and things like that. I'm tired of doing this now.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened with me, and I think a lot of people. Like, I think intrinsically, I think we know, like, man, I can't keep doing this, but man, she's so fill in the blank. She's so fine, or I like being around her, or
like
the stuff is so good. That I'll deal with it as much as possible, which is why I think a lot of people, almost instinctively know within seconds, like what's going to happen between me and you, like for the long term, and I think the more that you have in common, the more value the person brings, the more you'll put up with whatever else that comes with it. That's what separates any good relationship from fly-by-night situations, So the more the person is valuable, in other words, the more that you'll make exceptions to your rules.
To the rules. Yes.
Well, I so agree with a lot of that. And from the, and as I was listening and hearing our own polyamorous relationship as it is, because we have a blended family, and in blended family, there's so many different relationships to actually navigate. And so within that, the word polyamorous comes from poly and amor, meaning many loves. However, a lot of people approach it from polysexual, and it's like many sexes, and from that place, there can be so many variants to that, because it's like, people have fetishes, they have all kind of things, so all of that stuff comes into play there. But when you look at this from a relationship, love, valuable, like a whole relationship, a whole person with a whole person, not half people trying to get halves. I ain't going half with you on my emotions. I ain't going half with you on all kind. You're gonna make up my other half of everything. Because also in this is very realistically, some people are in relationships through it's a transactional relationship. What you can do for me, how you going to take care of me, what you bring to the table, all that language. And so there's so many variants to this, and for us, it's actually separating those frequencies that we all travel through. You got love, you got fear, you got distrust, you got trust, and we travel between these variants and these different things. But when the lesser things like jealousy, envy, pride, distrust, all that stuff starts becoming apparent, then I don't serve them no more. You know what I mean? They begin to serve us, because when we see it in somebody else, we can see it and say, wow, that's what they're feeling. That's actually what they're saying out of their mouth is, I'm jealous. The actions from that is showing so much more than it's like, then if I don't see it that way, I'm going to defend. I'm going to attack. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to feed into it. Now I'm serving it,
Mhm.
So this whole plant, man, this generationally, had I had this some years ago, come on, the language wasn't even there.
Mhm.
You
Exactly.
know, the idea, especially in our community, it was like you got polygamists, yes, you got women who's hoes and got many men, but all many men was. I'm just saying, I'm not disrespecting nobody. I'm saying that was the name given, but there was many men loving one woman, and they was transactional relationships. But for real, they was going home, to their wife and coming to her for consultation, everything else, emotional support. It still happens. That's why
Mhm.
they changed it from prostitution to sex workers. It's almost a reality. And sex
Mhm.
workers is so many nowadays. Let's look at it. You got a whole internet full of that. You got come visit me in my room, both of y'all. I'll take couples. I'll take this. I'll do massage this and massage that. So all of these different dynamics are coming to a place where our humanity is rising in our awareness as to just how we're going to value not only ourselves but each other.
Right.
That's
I
profound. Thank
agree.
you.
I
Thank
agree,
you.
Earl. Not Earl, Abdullah.
Say what?
I'm sorry. I'm
I thought I
sorry.
said Earl. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, Abdullah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry for
I
that.
like
Almost, yeah.
Don't be
I like
sorry.
what Reggie talked about when he talked about values, because when you join in with someone, when you start dating, I guess I could start there, and you realize that people have the person has similar values to you, then you will start navigating towards joining forces with them, because that's a hard match to make. I learned that recently in the last few years, is matching values is really much more important
Absolutely.
than attraction even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like he said, in the sense of the way you value that person, again, it's the connection. It's like we are in alignment, not just the good connection, but we are in alignment in our values and everything. So I value you, and I am willing to maybe bend some of my rules, some of my boundaries
Hmm.
for you, around you, just because I value you that much.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah. Hmm.
Very good. Very good. Boy, this was insightful. Earl said, is that sustainable to make a concession that is fundamentally different than what you know? Why not just find a better match? I think he's relating to what I said about I'll date someone monogamously. Let me clarify if Earl is still here. Is that what you were referring to, or something else that we were talking about?
I think that's probably why he was referring to, because it was after the monogamous and polyamorous love styles would be very difficult connection.
Oh, okay. Is that sustainable? Oh, gosh, I just can't get into it right. Is it sustainable? In my mind, it hasn't been. No, I shouldn't say in my mind. In my
personal experience.
In your practice.
Yeah, in my experience, it hasn't been sustainable if we're talking about long term. Because at some point you're going to be like, I'm ready to date somebody else or what have you. But at the moment, during the time period, the concession tends to be, for monogamous people, the biggest ordeal for them, the biggest deal breaker for them is multiple sexual partners, right? Mm-hmm. So I can make that deal, to be honest. I don't have to have multiple sexual partners. I could have multiple loves, though. So, I mean, if folks are open to that, I can read that, then yeah, I can roll it like that. Earl says a bit of both. If Reggie, for example, is monogamous, do you date a poly person to please them or just find another monogamous person? I'm not sure. I think Earl needs to call in. You got time? Sometimes let a friendship be a friendship and a relationship be a relationship. Yeah.
I mean, personally, like my view and my take has always been, I personally don't want to mix monogamy and polyamory, just for the fact that at some point that monogamous person is going to be like, no, I want you all to myself. I cannot deal with this. Even, let's say, for example, even if you had other partners you weren't really sexual with necessarily, but the fact that they know that you can even connect intimately with somebody else, like being in love with somebody else, loving somebody else than them, it's hard for them to accept, even if you weren't sexual with that other person. So it's hard for them to accept. So at some point, that's going to be something, and they're going to be like, no, I don't want that, blah, 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 blah. So that's why personally, I don't feel like monogamy and polyamorous relationship should be
a thing,
mixed. Yeah, and I don't think it would be a thing. Like you said, I feel like it's always going to be short-lived.
Well, polyamorous people don't necessarily. No, I'm not going to speak for all. I'm going to speak for some, but some polyamorous people don't value till death do us part. So it's not about the longevity of a relationship. It's more of the value and the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it like that.
Well, I say something real quick. I ain't gonna be long. So, which is one of the dynamics in this is with I'm saying this because I was talking to this brother about polyamory, and he happened to be gay. So he's gay. And I said, had you ever considered being, do you want children? Why, he was considered, he was like, and then when he thought about it, I said, maybe the ideal person might be for you is a woman that has fetishes or fantasies about being with two men, and then, so that opened his door. He never looked at it like that. He said, oh man. And so then, and guess what? So a little while later, he actually, his brother went to jail. So he had to get his brother's son, and he became a parent. So he's even more open to having a woman But and then he found out that, as far as being gay, it was almost like a thing where it was like those relationships were so short lived because they were sexual only. So his whole dynamic is opened up,
Mhm.
to a whole possibility of something else. Good looking brother too. And I'm saying, and like there are women who have those fantasies just like men have them, and they can't live them out because most men are not going to even go for that. But that's a reality. And I'm just saying, that's a conversation. My man laughing, but it's real. Just like men got the open door to society supports a man with two women or whatever, but they don't support women with multiple men. Then you get a name, you know.
Right. You're right. You're
Reggie,
right.
I see you talking.
Reggie.
No, I'm just enjoying it. I'm just having like my own commentary in my mind. It's not a disrespectful thing. I'm just thinking like, where in normal casual my day-to-day can I meet a woman that says, I would not mind having two guys, gay or not, just skewer me, or whatever the case is. It's just not something I run
You'd be
across.
surprised, man. You'd be
No,
surprised.
I believe that it's a thing. It's just that in polite society, it's just not something that would
Polite.
be evident. That's all. That's all I'm thinking. Like, what I'm
No, I
saying?
agree.
So, in my day to day, but you're right. There's all kinds of things. People have all kinds of thoughts and feelings and stuff like that they have a really hard time being
Women,
honest about.
I'm sorry. Women have been so sensitive to men needs and desires and fetishes and thoughts and sexual insecurities and everything else. And there's a saying that says honesty without sensitivity is brutality, right? And then there's sensitivity without honesty is self-destruction. So a lot of women they sacrifice some of their thoughts, feelings, ideas, and everything else because most men almost can't handle it. And since the pickings are slim, why bring up something that's almost impossible just to satisfy something that you may be probable? Oh my God!
Girl is in the
I
building.
popped up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pop up on you like that.
Pop in, pop up, pop in.
Sky was like, "Listen, I don't understand what you're saying. You need to come up."
But
So-
yeah.
And I was listening to I was listening to Abdullah. No, I'm sorry, not Abdullah. Yeah, and I tend to agree. I just think it's easier when people are on the same page, and I think it's a little bit challenging. I get what Reggie was saying that sometimes you can like a person so much that you're willing to make concessions, but I just think that could go well, but oftentimes it doesn't go well.
Oh no, I mean, you just need to go out for just good enough. All right. So, like, I'm just using my personal example, right? I don't have you seen the SZA billboards with her skim
Mm-mm.
billboard? So SZA, I don't know if y'all know the singer. She looks very nice, and every time I pass by that billboard, I'm like, man, she looks like a cat. She's just beautiful, right? So
Right.
Like that.
I'm just thinking some way, somehow, SZA was like, listen, I saw you, I need some personal protection, whatever. We're just kicking it, whatever. I'm like, yo, this is a celebrity, and this is me, like, and she's like, I need you to do this and do this, do that. And you're like, word, like nobody would ever believe I got with SZA. So she's a list of things she wants me to do, whatever. You'd consider it because, well, I'd consider it because, this was someone that was on the billboard. Now here I am talking to her live, and she's telling me that, she wants, this is what she's into, whatever. You just think about it, and this to me like is an example for myself of me considering, I guess, breaking rules and boundaries, just trying to like possibly get with someone that seems so out of reach. That's where I was coming from.
I think Reggie, it's funny you say that. I think that's one of the conversations that's had in a monogamous relationship, like in one of those moments, like, well, who is yours? Like every woman is like, well, he just elbow walked into the room, honey, I got to let you go. And then your response like, well, hell, if SZA walk in, I'm gonna let you go. Ha 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 ha. So it's a thought that's out there that, like you said, both think, hell, it's never gonna happen. But if it does happen, you kind of already put it out there. So it's like, oh, babe, look, and she might even be happy for you. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those things that in a monogamous relationship, it is talked about. I don't know anybody that's married that has not had that, jokingly or not. But I want to follow up on what Abdullah has said about the women and what they've sacrificed over time. Matter of fact, I'm gonna leave that alone. Because my thing
Go for it, brother. Go for it.
Nah, because at the end of the day, I think the big reveal is right now. So we've been thinking that, but women just clever as hell. So no disrespect to the two women. Women are clever as hell. It's just now it's a big reveal. It's like there's no longer need to pretend that we ain't got game. And I think that's what it is, to be honest with you. Even like the whole poly thing, and I don't make it trying to diminish it or whatever. It's just relationships, period. I think that we create, what was the description of a polyamorous relationship back in the day? So it's been going on.
Hoeing.
Hoeing for who? Hoeing for who?
For females.
For the woman and pimping for the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Now, because it has a word, that word has not always been around, it's more palatable and it's more acceptable. So, but it's always been going on. So I think that the verbiage is what makes the conversation across the board, period.
Well, I think that's because...
Yeah, now you got ADHD. Just like you had diarrhea, now it's IBS. So you had the pimp in the hole, whatever, and now you got poly. It just makes for a good conversation. People are still people at the core, and everybody's not going to treat that same situation the same way. So that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, so you got a girl who likes the position that the man and the wife are in, and she's in that, but in the time where he's not with her, satisfying her, then she has something else. So what is that called? So she has her own half poly situation going west, and the poly situation with the other guy is going east. So when does that tree branch cease to stop expanding?
Well,
so it's an unspoken rule. So it's crazy that you could be in a marriage, but if you dating somebody, that person is more vetted than the person that you with. Because I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. The dude like, okay, well, I don't want this, I don't want that. But you in a marriage, you accepted it, and you go along with whatever because you want it. So it's just crazy that I'm not even probably in a non-monogamous trying to establish relationship. It's more vetted than the relationship that you're in. Like we just trying to pigeonhole people. Like people, if I say I'm poly, I'm gonna act like this. If I say I'm married and monogamous, I'm gonna act like this. People are people. So it just makes for good conversation. Because at the end of the day, it should have a name before, or it didn't have a name. Somebody just gave it a name. So once you give something a name, then you have the right to claim it, describe it, and define it. And I think that's what happened.
I agree with you in this, and also with that, because as there becomes more conversation, awareness is what changes the dynamic. It's just like back in it's a perfect movie, the Mac. I don't know if y'all familiar with that. And the girl comes in, the Mac, Goldie, the Mac, and the girl comes in, it's Pimps and Hoes. She comes in and she say, "I choose you." There it is. Y'all know the scene. She said, "I choose you." He say, pretty Tony, you know the rules of the game. You know, your hoe chose me. So I'm just saying that was, but now that's one level of consciousness. But then there's another one when you raise that and she has a choice, not because the game has that in there, but because that's the freedom to choose. And that freedom we evolve in not only conversation, but in who we really are, what our true wants, what our true desires are, who I really am. And then I don't have to hide that. I think that a lot of people hide that and they protect themselves because who would want me if I told you who I really am and what I really like? Would you want me then? So the value system it takes on a whole nother dynamic. We get a chance to actually say, what is most important to me? Because at the end of the day, a sex act, is it going to take more precedence over all of what we have established in so many other areas? Are you really going to, make that so much of a value that it takes away from everything else that we have? And that's a good question. Is because there's a lot of spirituality that comes from this too.
Absolutely.
The Earl biting the bit. Go ahead, Earl, man. You about to bite your bottom lip off.
It's not that. I just think, and I think Me Too and Sky would totally agree. And I don't know where everybody's at on the spectrum, but poly is complex, very complex, and it's practiced in so many different ways. And one of the big challenges is getting out of a certain mindset, because that mindset is keeps you thinking in certain ways about possession and this is mine, and you have certain feelings associated with it. Whereas poly is a little bit different than that. You've got to be okay with allowing your person to be themselves and not really feeling like I control or possess her. Expressing that love and them being themselves, and you can find a love in them being themselves and not feeling like, oh, this is making me feel a certain way. But that's a real thing. You might feel a certain way, and it may not be for you. And I think that what I was trying to say is if you think a certain way, and let's just say that somebody else has a different way of loving, you may not be able to handle it. It may be too deep for you.
So poly is without insecurities, more or less.
I think it can work that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say without insecurities. Right. It's just how to deal with your insecurities. That's the difference.
Yes.
Or you make the effort to deal with your insecurities and not put it on your partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I don't even I thrive when I know that my partner if she's happy and she's thriving, she's in a good place, being her unique self. I love that. I don't feel any possession whatsoever. Her happiness is my happiness.
Right.
I don't feel any ownership of her in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think if I had a different mindset, I'm feeling a certain way because it's like, wow, you feel this way when you're with him, and you're not that way with me. So it doesn't even cross my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So Reggie, you married now, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask this question. So can your wife have new friends without you?
That's a good question.
Can she have new friends without me?
New male friends without you?
Yes.
So you poly then?
No, that doesn't mean that he's poly. That doesn't mean that he's poly.
So, I think so. Yes is the answer, and I know some people have rules about that, and that's something I came up myself when I got married, and some people start not talking to me. When I say some people, females start not talking to me because they say, you're married now, I can't even talk to you. And I'm like, what? There's so many rules that I learned about just entering this marriage thing and understanding how people approach it and everything. So I've also found that to be strange. Of course, your life didn't stop because we got married, so you can have friends. Now, obviously, the question is, what kind of friendship do they have? What is it based on and all that kind of stuff, But yeah, I'm not her owner, but
so you have a healthy marriage.
So yeah, of course she can have friends. I don't even think of, now obviously if the friend wanna have sex with her, then that's something different, but at the same time you expect it, because I've always known growing up, it's kind of it's weird. Can you imagine you're male and female, and it's possible, but the person says, ew, I don't want to have sex with you, you're my friend. What? So are you attractive or not?
Right.
And again, of course you're attractive, but I don't want to have sex with you. To me, that blows my mind. How? Why? Because I look at you like a little sister. Okay. So so my thing is and that's also possible to But like if the person were to be honest and say like, man, you know, your wife is beautiful. If I had a chance, of course I hit that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty average. That's pretty normal. But you know, are you gonna let that paralyze you? That's really the question. So I've always like approached life as like, you know, um, I want the best. I want the best car. I want the best house. I want the best children. I want to have the best friends. I want to have the best wife. I want to have the best stuff. And that means that somebody might see that thing that makes the person the best and want it too. And to me, that's pretty normal because, you know, I'm like the same way, you know. I don't know. I just don't even think about it twice to like make it a big deal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Did you catch it, Abdul?
Abdul is muted.
Oh, okay.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation. I see it's taken its own formation. What you say, me too?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, even when we have a topic of discussion, I don't really feel like we stay just on that or have to stay just on that because, you know, we're having a conversation. This is not a class. So we don't necessarily have to follow certain formats. So we're just, conversations will just flow. And who are we to stop it? So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Should we stop it or should we keep going?
Yes, we need to stop it though. Everybody's got to go. So we want to say thank you to you gentlemen for jumping on here and being a guest, always giving us, you know, I love talking to you guys because, you know, well, outside of Will, all of you have been on the show before, and we appreciate you always saying yes whenever we reach out, whether it's late or not. I like the way you guys think, even though we're from different backgrounds, and Reggie is not even living a polyamorous life, but I always love having conversations with him because it's always, you know, it's always different. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back in 2 weeks. Let us know if there's anything specific you would like for us to discuss. Until then, we will see you. And don't forget to follow all our pages. I know it's a lot, but we have a YouTube, we have Instagram, Facebook, and then we also have our personal pages.
Absolutely. Oh, wait. We have a few comments before we close out. Where are the comments? Oh, I thought I saw something.
No, I was shooting that to Abdul.
Okay, got it. All right, that's it. No worries.
All right. Well,
have a great evening, y'all.
Thank you all always.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.